2015年1月4日主日信息當中嘅感言部分，日華牧師由佔中事件繼續分享將來香港同埋中國局勢嘅走向，好似第二次世界大戰一樣，日本將會藉住攻打中國尋找生存嘅空間。原因正如早前嘅主日信息提及過，日本經歷1860年代嘅明治維新之後，國力大增，已經擁有侵略別國嘅野心，再加上經歷1923年嘅關東大地震，唔單止多達10多萬人死亡，200萬人無家可歸，所有經濟基礎建設亦都毀於一旦。因此，為着生死存亡，必定要繼續搶佔對岸中國、韓國等地土嘅方針，免得自己繼續受火山同埋地震嘅威脅。因此，日本政府以建立大東亞共榮圈作為侵略嘅意識形態，將佔領別國向日本國民包裝成解救腐敗嘅中國同埋周邊鄰國，令東南亞人民共同擁有繁榮嘅大義。日本政府擁有精良嘅武器，面對當時中國軍隊嘅殘破舊式武器，加上國共內戰、軍閥割據嘅紛亂局面，因此希望效法德國嘅閃電戰策略，原本計劃3個月內殲滅敵方主力軍隊，征服中國。但隨住東北軍閥張學良背叛日本，投靠蔣介石，加上西安事變，令國民黨全力抗日，日本侵華由閃電戰變成咗好似德國侵略蘇聯一樣，需要進行持久戰。而國民黨就係希望以拖延策略消耗日本嘅力量。喺呢種對日本不利嘅情況之下，為咗增加戰勝嘅機會，日本由大東亞共榮圈變成焦土戰術，用最殘忍嘅方法，包括化學武器、細菌戰，以最節省資源、最快捷嘅方法屠殺大量中國人。雖然隨住美國投放2枚原子彈，日本最終戰敗，退回呢個小島當中，甚至立憲永遠放棄建軍，但係其實日本最基本嘅問題從來冇改變過。一個人口喺世界排行第10位嘅國家，達1.2億人，卻處於活躍地震帶，全部居住喺一個擁有全世界1/10火山嘅小島裏面，就好似處身於刀口之上，無時無刻受住地震同埋火山爆發嘅威脅。整個國家所有建設、人口都可以喺頃刻之間毀於一旦。要解決大自然嘅威脅，必然係重複呢場歷史，就係藉住侵略得到對岸嘅中國。因此，日本亦樂於成為 Freemason 喺亞洲嘅打手，設立美軍基地，讓美軍長駐，並且通過議案解禁集體自衛權，讓軍國主義可以再一次抬頭。而2014年12月，安倍晉三喺最近提前大選並且勝出，就係要為建立軍隊而鋪路。
原因，日本已經時日無多，地殼活動急劇加增，火山爆發不僅創造出新島。2014年8月，鹿兒島火山噴發，並且2014年9月，越嶽火山爆發，造成48人死亡。2014年11月，阿蘇火山爆發，數十班航機被取消，甚至富士山下亦不斷發生地震。日本被火山爆發同埋地震毀滅嘅機會越嚟越高，因此要加速搶先喺日本被天災毀滅前發動戰爭。不然，如果日本已經被天災毀滅嘅話，就再冇能力攻擊中國。但係2次大戰之後，隨住時局發展，中國已經唔係落後國家，而係經濟上力克日本，甚至將會能夠與美國抗衡嘅大國。因此，日本唔能夠再以中國仍然係滿清般守舊、封建、腐敗為藉口，借詞日本要解救中國人，建立大東亞共榮圈，作為鼓勵日本人民打仗嘅意識形態。但係按住過去數十年間， Freemason 已經透過教育同埋傳媒，於全世界建立及高舉另一種意識形態，成為世界唯一嘅答案。嗰個就係對民主、自由嘅追求。因為 Freemason 已經能夠熟練地帶領大眾嘅走向，因此 Freemason 絕對唔介意世人擁有民主、自由。藉住 Freemason 製造問題、演繹問題、提供答案嘅方程式，民主嘅社會只會令人們自願成為佢哋嘅奴隸。因此，藉住政治、傳媒嘅手段，近數十年，民主已經不單單係普世價值， 仲被高舉成唯一標準嘅意識形態。任何國家冇民主就會被人們視之為邪惡國家。為咗嗰啲邪惡國家裏面無辜嘅人民，推翻邪惡政權亦係理所當然嘅事。Freemason 以此藉口炮製各個顏色革命，甚至因此而向所有唔接受民主嘅國家出兵。不但冇人會提出疑問，士兵們更會認為自己係為住創造更美好嘅世界而戰。不論係伊拉克、埃及、敘利亞、烏克蘭及將來嘅伊朗，佢哋都會運用同一手段推翻敵對嘅政權。例如，數十年以嚟，利比亞雖然係非洲最先進、最繁榮嘅國家，人民過住美好生活，但係由於利比亞由卡達菲長久統治，冇西方所講嘅民主自由，因此應視為邪惡國家而被毀滅。佢哋為咗使利比亞人民有西方形式嘅民主生活，就將利比亞政府推翻，炸掉佢哋最值錢嘅建築物，令佢哋嘅文明倒退幾十年。國家亦被不同派系割據，四分五裂。
Well, it is, I think we can come close to say it's beginning to be a fact that the Western leaders are unified to a larger degree than before in what I call this liberal utopianism that is in a sense a religion with a mission. That is that Western democracy and the way we have our democracy in the West is to be implemented all over the world, and this will lead to world peace everywhere. I think that this is one of the reasons why we've seen also the change in NATO. This is one of the reasons why political correctness is so highly implemented in Europe, and there's such a silence from many Western European thinkers who are deeply worried about the changing nature of the Western democracies turning more totalitarian than what we've seen before. And with this brings us back to Samuel Huntington's point that it's extremely important in a time like ours that there will be a respect for the differences of civilization and to allow each civilization to develop in its own democratic way. You cannot bomb democracy to its place, like also Henry Kissinger points out. I mean, this is not the way. It took several hundred years for Europe to develop this, and we are somehow losing some of our freedom today too. So it's not easy to be a people, you know, to represent the people and have an open society. And we need to heighten the respect for the other. That is a vital point today for us not to turn into 1939, but to remain at 1938 and to keep having freedom and respect for one another in the world.
But Hannah, how do you really arrive at this glorious place that you just identified? Because I mean, it looks to me that there have been a number of huge mistakes committed by Western countries. For example, Afghanistan or Iraq. And yet, even from that very bloody, very destructive experience, nothing really was learned. Because, I mean, after Afghanistan and Iraq, we had Libya. We are now having Syria. We have interventions, you know, noble humanitarian interventions in other countries. What will make the change that you are talking about? Who will make that change? Because it seems that people in the West, they may be dissatisfied with the military policies of NATO in Iraq, but they still did nothing to stop the NATO intervention in Libya, for example.
There might be other ways of ruling and helping a people. The point should be to help the people have a good society. And this is precisely, I believe, the mistake that we have done the past 20 years in the West, is assuming that our way of thinking democracy automatically will fit all. And when it comes to places like Afghanistan and Iraq and Libya, I mean, Libya is the worst example of Western countries' assault that one of the worst examples in modern history. It's a horrible thing to be a European intellectual and to watch your own political leaders go ahead and engage in something like this. In Norway, for example, when it comes to the Libyan war, we engaged, and at that time, now General Secretary Stoltenberg of NATO and then Foreign Minister Jonas Gahr Støre. They sent SMS messages to the other people in the parliament. It was never a discussion in parliament. It was an SMS saying, yes, let's bomb, because somebody called from America. We bombed 588 bombs over roads and water and cities in Libya at that time. And we've had a large documentary in Norway after that, where the fighters, the pilots that flew over Libya and dropped these bombs, they actually told in the documentary that we were sent up and we weren't even told what to bomb. Just bomb something that looks like it's something valuable. In a just world, the political leaders in the West that have done such atrocities towards other nations in other cultures should have been sent to The Hague and judged at The Hague for atrocities against humanity.
On a different point, even if you believe that the Western way is the only way, that, for example, the idea of empowering women is very popular in the West. If we take that concrete example and apply it to either Libya and Syria, even there it's counterproductive, because whatever you think about Gaddafi, for example, he was very active in trying to advance women's rights. He brought a lot of women into universities, into labor force, and now what women in Libya are facing is Sharia law and the possibility of some of them being sold to ISIS fighters as virgin brides. So I think even if you accept that Western mentality, that our way is the only way, even then, that method of operation through military campaigns is very counterproductive to the very cause you are trying to achieve.
One of the problems in the West really is the media and the control that the political elites do have of the media, because it creates an ignorance in the regular population. For example, concerning what you're saying, the feminism and the view of the woman, I mean, we cannot say that the only free people or women in the world are the ones living in the West, but this we seem to believe. And when looking at the information we get in our media, I mean, the American people are good people. 74% a poll recently showed they did not at all want to start another war in the Middle East. People are interested in others having a good life. But the problem is the political elites and the agendas that go into economy, arms race, and world dominion. These types of issues are really the problem. And since there's such a high degree of control over the media, the public in Europe and in the United States do not get the information that is so vital. For example, like you're mentioning the question of Libya. I mean, Libya was Africa's richest state. It was a welfare state, middle-income nation according to UN, with such a high quality of living standards for one. Gaddafi was secular. I mean, and so opposing precisely the Al-Qaeda-run opposition in the Benghazi area. And when it comes to Norway, for example, and when you look at the Arab Spring and the naivety in which we looked at the Arab Spring, we had the Foreign Minister Støre writing in the New York Times that 1 month after the Tahrir Square, saying the West should be so happy now and we should understand this will not lead to Islamists taking power and will not empower Al-Qaeda. And a few months later, Norway participated in bombing that country into shreds and putting in power precisely the Al-Qaeda groups from Benghazi. So there is just such a lack of knowledge of nations. And looking into the Middle Eastern issues and seeing the Shia and Sunni conflict and the Saudi aggression also paired up with the United States. The United States should not only listen to Saudi Arabia.
但係其實 Freemason 推翻卡達菲係為咗延續石油美金嘅霸權，搶奪利比亞嘅資源。民主只係為咗入侵別國給予一個冠冕堂皇嘅藉口。原因美國於中東最重要嘅盟友產油國沙特阿拉伯，現時仍然係君主制，由國王阿卜杜拉統治，君主有絕對權力，奉行嚴格嘅伊斯蘭法律，婦女冇任何政治權利。對比敍利亞同埋利比亞，沙特阿拉伯更加保守。原因卡達菲宗教中立，但係沙特阿拉伯卻係回教主義國家， 但係幾十年嚟，沙特阿拉伯卻冇任何顏色革命發生，美國更加冇出兵推翻。就算係中東發生嘅茉莉花革命浪潮，對沙特阿拉伯仍然冇絲毫影響。既然美國同埋歐盟各國以民主為名推翻利比亞，不僅冇任何國家為利比亞作出抗議，亦都冇任何國家伸出援手。並且呢一種入侵嘅行為甚至被認定為義舉嘅時候，咁樣中國仍然係共產主義政權，唔係民主國家。因此日本隨時亦都可以藉住民主嘅意識形態作為旗號攻打中國，亦係一種大義。尤其係香港於一國兩制嘅情況下，中國唔容許香港有真普選，冇民主，就算日本攻打香港入侵中國亦都係義舉。一方面對付共產政權，另一方面就係解救一班追求民主但係透過雨傘革命幾經艱辛亦都無法爭取成功，一班面對極權主義但係無助無力嘅香港市民。如此睇嚟，佔中運動正正為西方列強及日本攻打中國提供一個絕佳嘅背景舞台。原因，西方話香港被收買嘅傳媒就係要借助佔中運動作出報導，不斷對全世界凸顯中國係如何反對民主呢一個唯一嘅文明標準，並且係點樣迫害追求民主嘅人。目的就係藉住佔中事件將中國塑造成係俄羅斯、伊拉克、利比亞、北韓一樣嘅極權國家。所以唯有剷除呢一啲邪惡國家嘅政權，佢哋嘅人民先會有安穩繁榮嘅生活。